What's up, guys? Back with another highly requested cut test. This time it's the ZT301 in S30V, and it's around a 36 degree inclusive edge, polished to 6000 grit. It is a recurve and it's S30V, which I've already tested S30V a couple times, but this is a different manufacturer than normal and a totally different blade shape, so it'll be interesting to see how it works out. If you hear talking in the background, it's my sister and my fiance ironing out wedding details. So, gonna make you hear the autofocus. I'm gonna go ahead and test initial sharpness, which is, like always, very sharp. This edge actually does whittle hair. I think I've done a hair whittling video with this knife, but it's sharp. I'm doing this mainly for YouTuber The Lock. He's requested this like 20 times and I'm just now getting around to it, and he still hasn't gotten his knife that I sent him. He won my contest, the pair of two. It's been like a month and his knife is still sitting in New York, so says the tracking. But same deal, this is roughly 9 feet of 3/8 inch sisal rope, so just go ahead and get to the cutting. Ooh. Not a super good slicer. Kind of has a lot of resistance. I always test after the first few cuts. And there's no disputing that I'm cutting with a part of the edge that's cutting the rope, because it's going to be this part of the recurve, and that's the exact part that I'm cutting with, so no disputing that fact. Still sharp. Takes a lot of force to get through this rope. A lot. Whew. A whole lot of force. One of the hardest knives I've tested yet. Still cutting phone book paper though. Still cutting it with ease. That's S30V for you. And this knife isn't really meant to be a slicer. It's meant to be a big, hardy, thick blade. It's going to stand up to a lot of abuse, and it does that well. I'm going to back this thing up. I mean, it doesn't slice really bad, but it doesn't slice really good either. Nothing like the mini grip or the Para 2 or Kylie's knife. The geometry just isn't good for slicing. For a hard use blade though, it's really good. And for cutting cardboard, it does cut cardboard really well. I've noticed that a lot of recurves are good with cardboard. Gonna test sharpness. Got a little hang in there. Oh, well, it still slices. Still slices pretty well, actually. I mean, it does have a dull spot right at the apex of the recurve, but it still slices. If I go through it kind of quickly, there's no resistance at all. So, pretty good. So far, really good. But we have a lot of rope left. Just vacuumed and I'm getting rope all on the floor again. Hate it. Gonna keep going. This is actually kind of hurting my wrist. It's taking so much force to get through this rope. Using the front part of the blade there, it actually worked pretty well. The hook of that recurve slices much better than the rest of the blade though. Ooh. Getting tough. Go ahead and test. It'll still cut it. I am using the part that cut the rope. I don't care what it looks like on film. I can feel it. I know that I'm cutting with the part that cut the rope. There, that was completely the part that cut the rope. And you can see it. It's still slicing. That's it. Still slicing phone book paper. You should have been able to see that. There's no disputing that. See? There we go. Gonna keep going. Ooh. I've been spoiled by those thin blades. This is rough. I'm telling you. No BS. This is rough. I'm gonna test, or not test, but focus. Focus is good. I'm gonna finish up the last bit. Whew. I'll be glad to be done with this one. Test one more time. I'm still cutting with a part. This part of the recurve is doing the lion's share of the cutting. It's still slicing. It's not pretty, but it's still doing it. So, still holding its edge. It's taking me a lot of force to get through the rope now. Much more than when the blade was hair whittling sharp. I'm gonna power through this last little bit. Call it a test. There we go, finally. Shit. That was tough. No hot spots though. This is a super comfortable knife. Like not even a precursor to a hot spot. This thing is really, really comfortable. See what it does. I would say that it's I won't call it dull enough to cut phone book paper or dull enough to not cut phone book paper, but it's not, well, it's still not a clean cut either way. You have to really speed through it to get it not to hang up. But of course, it's going to cut this all day. I mean, I'm push cutting that. That's a pure push cut. Getting through that with ease. And it does still cut this, but it's not like the ZDP did, where it just kind of glid through it. I mean, it does do pretty well. Better than most steels. S30V is really good. And even though this is a thick grind, it still held its edge really well. I give it a pass. Even though it's kind of hanging up, I still give it a good grade because it still slices. I mean, it's not like I can just get through it no matter what. It probably cuts 2 out of every 5 times I try it. But it still does slice, so did pretty good. Anyway, I hope this is what you wanted to see, the lock. I don't know what you were expecting, but I hope it did better than what you were expecting. Maybe. Hopefully it did. Let me strop it real quick. A couple people have asked that I strop the knife at the end of the test. So I figured I would do that and see if we could get any improvement. I'm thinking we will, because there are almost no rolls in this edge like normal. Normally there's a few very noticeable rolls. You could feel it with your fingernail. This one doesn't have anything that's really noticeable, so I think a strop will do this blade some good. I think it'll be able to slice phone book paper after we strop it up. This is one of the first edges that has not rolled really bad. I think maybe the first edge, period, that hasn't taken a bunch of rolls. So that's something to say in and of itself. It's probably this thick blade with not a overly thin edge on it. Either way, not rolling is good in my eyes, because it'll still continue to cut. And I'm pretty sure we'll get a good slice. If I could hook into it. It didn't help much, if any. It's going into that toothy working edge. It's sharp right here, where it didn't do much cutting, and it's sharp right here. But right here, I mean, it would still cut me if I really pushed into it, but it's developed into a toothy edge right here. I mean, this edge would continue to cut for days and days and days. I mean, this is still sharp enough to cut most anything, but if you're trying to shave hair, then it's not going to do it. So that's one thing about S30V, is when it dulls, it doesn't actually just go blunt. It develops a toothy working edge, which is very, very good for most tasks. So even though stropping didn't do much for it, it would still cut. You just wouldn't have that fine edge that it had on it before. So there you go. Anyway, there's the results. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.